It was a Saturday evening when I noticed something was off. The sun had just started to set, casting a golden glow across the windows of our small home in a quiet neighborhood in Ohio. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner, grilled chicken with mashed potatoes, my son's favorite. But I hadn't heard his usual footsteps bounding down the stairs or the sound of his guitar drifting through the hallways like it usually did on the weekends. The silence worried me. My name is Jennifer Wilson. I'm 42 years old, and a single mother to my only child, Ethan. He's 19 now, smart, sensitive, and the kind of young man who always holds in more than he lets out. So when there's silence from him, I know something's not right. I wiped my hands on the dish towel, turned the stove down low, and walked up the stairs to his room. The door was shut, but not locked. I knocked gently. "Ethan, you okay?" No response. I waited a moment and then slowly opened the door. He was lying on his bed, face down, one arm hanging off the side. His room was dark, curtains drawn. No music. No video game sounds. No chatter with friends on his headset. I walked in quietly and sat at the edge of the bed. "What happened?" I asked softly, brushing his dark hair away from his forehead. He turned his face just enough for me to see that his eyes were red, swollen. He'd been crying. "It's over," he mumbled into the pillow. I didn't need to ask what he meant. I already knew he was talking about Emma. They had been dating for almost a year, his first serious relationship. They met at his community college, in one of their English lit classes. From the moment he brought her home, I could see she meant a lot to him. She was kind and respectful, always smiled and helped me set the table when she came over for dinner. They had their own little routines, midnight phone calls, weekend coffee runs, study sessions that turned into movie nights. They were young, but they loved each other in that pure, intense way only first loves can. "What happened?" I asked again, trying to keep my voice gentle. He pulled the pillow tighter under his chest. "She said we're not on the same page anymore. That she needs to find herself. Said we're too young to be so serious." I sighed and placed a hand on his back. "I didn't see it coming," he whispered. "We were just fine last week. Breakups are like that sometimes. No warning signs, just a sudden, harsh goodbye." I sat with him in silence for a few minutes. I didn't want to rush him to talk. Sometimes the best thing you can offer someone is just your presence. Eventually, he sat up, wiping his face with the sleeve of his hoodie. "I feel stupid," he said. "You're not stupid," I replied instantly. "You're human. You opened your heart. That's brave, not stupid." But I should have known. She was getting distant, canceling plans, replying less. "Even if you noticed all that," I said, "it still would have hurt. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to be heartbroken." He looked away, jaw clenched like he was trying not to cry again. "I gave her everything, Mom. I don't think I can do this again with anyone else." "You don't have to think about anyone else right now," I said, pulling him into a hug. "Right now, you just need to take care of your heart. Let it heal." I let him lean into me like he used to when he was little. That same boy who once cried when his goldfish died was now a grown man dealing with the collapse of his first real relationship. And I wished I could take the pain away for him, but I knew this was a wound only time could fix. That night, we sat together on the couch and watched a movie. Something light, something funny. He didn't laugh much, but he stayed close, curled up under the blanket like he was a kid again. I made popcorn, and he barely ate any, but I didn't push him. Grief has its own appetite. The days that followed were a slow stretch of sadness. He wouldn't talk much, barely left his room, and his phone stayed on silent. I checked on him every day, sometimes just to leave a sandwich on his desk or ask if he wanted to go for a walk. Most times he declined. But I kept trying. Not because I was trying to force him to move on, but because I wanted him to know he wasn't alone. One afternoon, after nearly a week of silence, I found him in the garage sitting on the old stool by his guitar. He wasn't playing it, just holding it, fingers resting gently on the strings. "You ever think love just isn't worth it?" he asked. I took a breath before answering. Love hurts, yes. But it's also one of the best parts of life. And pain is part of it. That's what makes the real thing so special. You feel everything. He looked down. "What if I never find it again?" "You will. And it'll feel different. You're growing. Your heart is learning what it needs. But it'll find someone again, someone better for who you're becoming." That night, he asked me to go out for dinner. We went to a little diner we used to frequent when he was younger. It felt like a turning point. He smiled once or twice, cracked a joke about the stale fries, and even asked about my work. It wasn't much, but it was something. We talked about relationships and love. I shared stories from when I was his age, about the heartbreaks I went through, and how I thought I'd never love again until his father came along. And then I told him about how I got through losing his dad, how grief teaches us about resilience and compassion. "You're stronger than you think, Ethan," I said. He nodded, this time without crying. Over the next few weeks, the cloud began to lift. He started playing his guitar again, spending time with his friends, even went back to the gym. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it had shifted into something else. Something quieter, something that didn't own him anymore. One evening, I passed by his room and heard him singing softly, a new song he'd written. I stood outside the door and listened for a while. His voice was low, filled with emotion, but not broken. Later that night, he came into the living room, handed me his phone, and said, "I recorded something. Want to hear it?" I smiled. Of course. It was a song about letting go. About finding yourself after losing someone you thought you'd always have. His voice trembled in parts, but it was real, raw, and beautiful. When it ended, I had tears in my eyes. "That was incredible," I said. He gave me a shy smile. It helped. Writing it down helped me move through it. And that's when I knew he was healing. Breakups are hard. Watching your child go through heartbreak is harder. But being there, staying close, offering love without pressure, that's what matters most. I didn't have the magic words to erase his pain. But I had open arms, quiet support, and the knowledge that sometimes, just being there is enough. And one day, when he's older, when he looks back on this time in his life, I hope he remembers that. I hope he remembers that after his first big heartbreak, his mom was there, not to fix it, but to sit with him in the storm until the sun came out again.